It is one of the most desperate political gambles in ancient history, handing absolute control of a collapsing Mediterranean superpower to a 13-year-old boy. To find the roots of this crisis, we have to look at the Egyptian capital of Alexandria in 204 BC. The reigning pharaoh, Ptolemy IV, had just died suddenly, leaving the entire Ptolemaic Empire to his 5-year-old son, Ptolemy V. A 5-year-old cannot govern an empire. That duty fell to two ruthless advisors, Agathocles and Sosibius. To ensure no one challenged their new authority, they kept the king's death a secret for days and orchestrated the murder of his mother. This governance through murder quickly backfired. Without a strong ruler, the Egyptian state stalled. Public outrage boiled over in Alexandria, sparking a massive revolution. Residents dragged the corrupt regents and their families into the public stadium to be lynched. While the capital tore itself apart, rival kings moved in. Macedonian and Seleucid armies swept across the map, swallowing up Egypt's lucrative overseas territories in Caria, Thrace, and Syria. The empire was losing land, and it was losing political legitimacy. The 300-year-old Ptolemaic dynasty was teetering on the edge of a collapse. Foreign invasions were only the first half of the crisis. Down south, the native Egyptian population had been conscripted into the military and realized they possessed the strength to overthrow their occupiers. They used those weapons to launch the Great Revolt. Upper Egypt broke away from Greek rule, establishing an independent state and crowning its own native rebel pharaohs, like the leader Horwennefer. The government in Alexandria was unable to organize a response. The remaining Greek generals lacked the resources and authority to suppress a massive, well-armed insurgency. The regency system had failed. A child was sitting on the throne of an empire that was physically splitting in half. By 907 BC, the remaining Greek elite in Alexandria realized that if they didn't replace the corrupt regency system, the state would fall. They needed a single, unchallengeable leader. Their solution was a rare legal maneuver called the Anaclitaria. They organized a massive public ceremony to declare the king an adult, even though Ptolemy V was only 13 years old. This was a legal shortcut. By recognizing the teenager as a full-grown man, the royal court instantly bypassed the failed regents, transferring sovereign authority directly into the hands of the boy. He hadn't suddenly gained the wisdom of a general. This coming of age was a calculated political stratagem designed to project stability and eliminate internal palace rivalries. But consolidating power in the Greek capital of Alexandria did nothing to solve the native rebellion down south. To fix that, the 13-year-old traveled inland to the ancient religious capital of Memphis. He knew Greek military force had failed. To pacify the massive native insurgency, the teenage king needed the endorsement of the most influential group in the country, the traditional Egyptian priesthood. This diagram illustrates the high-stakes contract he offered them. In exchange for their loyalty, Ptolemy V granted the temples massive tax breaks, injected state gold into their religious coffers, and offered full amnesty to any rebels who laid down their arms. This endorsement gave Ptolemy the one thing money couldn't buy: the sacred right to rule over the Nile's native population as a legitimate, living god. This was a targeted political weapon. By securing the religious backing of the Memphis priests, Ptolemy V stripped the rival pharaohs in the south of their divine right to rule. The young king traded a massive percentage of his state revenue for domestic religious legitimacy, securing his dynasty's stability by taking a temporary financial hit. This religious endorsement functioned as a strategic siege. Over the next decade, as the priesthoods of the south began to recognize the teenager as the legitimate pharaoh, the rebel kings lost their base of support, allowing Ptolemaic forces to finally reclaim the region by 186 BC. History is filled with child rulers who were crushed by the weight of the crown. King Tutankhamun, for example, took power at age 9, but the real authority always remained in the hands of older generals, who used him as a figurehead. Ptolemy V represents a strange paradox. He survived his adolescence because he and his allies successfully navigated the complex politics of religion, turning potential enemies into powerful partners. But the brutal reality of the ancient world eventually caught up with him. At age 29, as he planned an expensive new war to retake lost territories in Syria, Ptolemy V died suddenly. Historians suspect he was poisoned by his own courtiers, who preferred assassinating their king over paying for his military ambitions. His sudden murder proves a dark rule of the Ptolemaic court. Passing the crown to a teenager might have saved the state, but wearing it remained a lethal burden. We know the exact details of that genius political maneuver back in Memphis because the priests carved the terms of their deal with the boy king into giant stone slabs, displaying them in temples across Egypt. This survived for 2 millennia as the physical record of the teenager's deal. You probably know it as the Rosetta Stone. Because the priests recorded the decree in 3 different scripts, modern scholars used the known Greek text to decipher the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. The artifact that allowed the world to read hieroglyphs once more was the result of a 13-year-old's high-stakes survival pact.